Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of The Mind of Reese. I am so excited that you are here. We are going to talk about the 11 words to remove from your fucking life so that you can magnetize so fucking powerfully in your life, in your business. Let's go. So this kind of came up for me a lot when it came to my retreat I just had, which was so fucking expansive and exciting. The Worthy Wealthy Creative Retreat. It was a seminar prior. I did a seminar for the Worthy Wealthy Creative last year in New York. And I had decided to go ahead and I was like, you know what? I would love to make this a full-blown, 3-day retreat. And so let's go ahead and do it. So this is the first retreat that I had ever done, and I'd been on many, so I was just like, I loved being on retreat. I love being in community, and especially in person, there's just a whole other essence and vibe and just connection with your people. And I really just wanted to full send, and I was like, yeah, let's full send. So I full sent it. I have a very big affinity for the idea behind if you build it, they will come. And so when I started the idea of building this retreat, and I live by this motto my whole life. It's just like, build the thing, people will come, And so it was always just, when I built something, it wasn't in condition for someone else to come. It was more in condition that I can finish. And so for me, that motto has always been something I lived by because of the fact that it was a declaration to something I was building and for me to finish it. And I love, really representing myself as a woman of my word. Something that my father, who just passed, was always really adamant about when I was younger and when I was a little girl. And he was like, just be a woman of your word. And I was like, okay. And I always followed through. So it was, I had my moments of being a little shit kid, but at the end of the day, I always followed through with things. And so whenever I declare something, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And whatever happens, I'll move through it. Right. And, another motto of mine is like, especially for this year in 2024, is how I can move through hard things with ease. And so I have been just on this vibe, this super high vibration. But one of the big things was what I noticed is that oftentimes we don't pay attention to the things that we are saying and to the words that we are utilizing. And words are so fucking powerful. They are so powerful. That's why people are so afraid to say they're going to do something. And then if they don't do it, they feel like, are people going to judge me? Or does this make me a failure? And so when we get into this vibration of, oh, well, what words that we use, like when you get into the vibration of the word, the terminology that you're using that's actually coming out of your mouth, it's so powerful because your third chakra, your throat chakra is how people say it, however you want to say chakra. Your throat chakra is probably the most activating truth communicator you have, because the moment that you declare something, it's out into the universe. The universe has heard your call. It's like making an Amazon order. You're like, all of a sudden you're like, oop, I pressed my order in. Now I've declared that I wanted this thing and I'm just going to wait for it to show up. And so oftentimes when we say things, maybe we don't mean or we don't do or something of that nature, we don't realize how much we are programming our subconscious mind. And so often we say things out into the world, whether it's honest or not or whatever it might be, and that becomes based on a belief that we have within ourselves. And so the more that we can really, really become aware and pay attention to the things that we're saying, the better we are going to train our subconscious mind and get into the programming of what it is that we actually believe to something better, right? And it's really about like creating the habit of getting in tuned with what you're saying out loud into the world, becoming a woman or man of your word, and just, and owning it or taking full responsibility of it, right? So this was something that I noticed a lot in the retreat where I was like, oh man, like the words we're using here. I was like, okay. So it really got me thinking. It was like, what are these words that we're utilizing that's actually causing us to falter, to have a lot of fear, to, overgeneralize certain things. And that's what happens like when in our minds, there's a part of our mind or a part of our conscious mind that likes to overgeneralize things, right? So it's like we want to remove some of these words in order for us not to overgeneralize, undergeneralize, over-exaggerate, under-exaggerate, like these certain things, because we want to make sure that like we are moving in our highest alignment, right? So let's get straight into it. The number one word is try. The word try, I want you to just think about this for a second. And it's like, what does the word try actually mean? Does it mean that we're actually going to try? It's either doing or you don't do it, right? You're either doing it or you don't do it. And if we say try, what happens to our body? Are we giving ourselves a way out? Are we giving ourselves a plan B? Are we giving ourselves a moment where we just decide that, we're like, well, at least I'll just try. And then if I fail, then, it's not on me, right? There is no try. You are either doing it or you're not doing it, essentially, and try means that there is a predictability that it might not happen. And if you remove the word try and it says like, I am doing or I'm not doing, you will feel a shift in your body. You will feel a rush. You will feel a declaration and whatever comes of it, right? So like going back to my whole vibe of A Field of Dreams, that movie, the movie A Field of Dreams, where this line comes in, if you build it, they will come. I actually have never really seen the movie. I think maybe once. I think it's a 90s movie and maybe seen it once when I was a kid. However, I don't really recall it. I just know that like there's this guy that's building this baseball in the middle of a field and nobody understands why he's doing it. And he's just like, I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to build it and then we'll see what happens and people will start coming. So that's basically what it's at. And people just think he's crazy, right? And that's like most entrepreneurs. We're just crazy. So if we build it, they will come, right? And so for me, it's like, I'm not going to try to create a retreat. I'm like, oh, let me just try to create a retreat. And but if it maybe I should just try to sell it first and see who's interested. If nobody signs up, then I'm not doing it and da-da-da-da. No, I fucking did it. No, it's like I'm doing this. I'm creating a retreat. And if I'm the only one on this retreat, then kudos to me. Like, then that's what's going to be. You know what I mean? And then that's it. Like, that's basically how I live my entire life. So it's not about the try. It's about doing. By saying you're trying, you're giving yourself you're telling yourself that you don't quite believe that you're actually going to make it. And that's a limiting belief within you. You're like, yeah, I'll try. And it's like, yeah, I'll try to lose weight or I'll try to work out or I'll try to go to that party. It's like, no. And when we say we try, what are we really saying? Is it that like, oh, I have to be a people pleaser in order for someone to still love me, but then if I don't show up, at least I said I'd try, right? At least I said I'd try. And for me, it's like, I'm either coming or I'm not. And I'm going to tell you straight up because it's a big pet peeve of mine. It reminds me of ghosting. It just reminds me of people ghosting you. And especially like when I used to be on dating websites and they just ghost you. I'm like, oh, what a fucking try. It's like a coward moment. I'm like, listen, I think I've declared it out into the universe and into the world that the one time I had gotten ghosted, I was like, is this how it feels to get ghosted? Because I have ghosted many people, in my 20s. And I was like, I will never ghost anybody again. I will just tell them like it is. So if someone asks me for another date after the first date, they're like, wow, I had a really great time. I would just be like, I just don't see this going anywhere. I so appreciate your time and energy. I loved hanging out with you. However, this is just not what I'm looking for. And although it probably stings, the amount of thank yous I've received from men for just being straight the fuck up is like, yeah, I'm not going to try to not ghost you. I'm going to try to make it. I'm like, no, I'm going to tell you like it is. Hey, I'm not going. Like, that's it. That's what's happening. And the moment you do that, not only do you feel the shift in your body, like say that to yourself, like, I'm doing it. I'm doing this. I'm becoming the highest version of myself. I'm not going to try to become the highest version of myself. I'm fucking doing the thing. So it's like I'm doing it. And feel the shift in your body when you do that. You feel powerful. You feel empowered. You're all of a sudden leading. You're leading yourself in a way that's like no ifs, ands, or buts, and all good. You're not doing something based on the probability of whether or not you're going to succeed, quote unquote, in the way that you desire to succeed, the way you expect it to go. You're just like, I'm going to go, I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to move through whatever I need to move through, because I want to tell you guys that change is your only constant. Change is constant. You think you're staying the same. You're not. You're getting older, my friend. Even if you're the one just sitting on the couch, you're getting fatter. You're getting like all the things. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way, but even if you were to stay on the couch, continue to eat, never move, and say you're going to try to go to the gym, but you still don't do it, you're still changing. And maybe not for the better. And your body is changing. And your body is just solidifying this belief within you that this quote unquote try is actually you not gonna go doing the thing, or you gonna go do the other thing that you said that you wouldn't do. And so it's like, remove it from your motherfucking vocabulary so that you can actually grow. Because change is your only constant. Growth is a choice. Okay? And whatever comes of it, full send. Right? Full send. Allow yourself to be surprised and know that you've got you, right? Because the moment I say I'm doing it, I got me. I know I've got me. I find safety within myself, not safety outside of me, that if this thing doesn't work out, it's going to mean something about me, right? When we declare it, we start to shift that. We start to create the safety within our body when we remove the word try. Number 2, have to, I need to, I must. It's like living off the stories of our past or societal expectations of what we need to, because there's this pressure and longing to feel the need to do something, not because you want to or you're feeling called to, but because you feel like you have to, or you feel like there's that pressure to. You feel like you're pushing yourself hard. Like, oh my gosh, story. A lot of times when I go into a launch, and this happens a lot less now, but let's say at the very beginning when I first started becoming a coach, it's like I have to keep showing up every single day on the internet, or nobody's gonna know about what this, and if I don't keep selling, then I'm gonna, people are not gonna find me, and they're not gonna buy this course, and and so it became like a have to show up, have to every single day. And that was even prior to me becoming a coach. I remember feeling like I always needed to. Look at these words that are being utilized. It's like always needed to post online in order for people to see me. That's the story I believed. Oh my gosh, I need to be validated at all times. I need people to see me or I will be forgotten. And this isn't because I felt like this was going to expand my zone of genius. It was because I felt pressured to. And so, when we feel this sense of this frequency, so if you think about it, have to, need to, I must, feel that in your body. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to feel those words in your body and feel where that comes from. Does it feel pleasurable to feel those feelings? Does that pressure feel delightful or yummy, right? Have to, need to, must is very low frequency. It's the sense of fear. It's the sense of fear of just oh, well, if I don't, this is going to happen. If I don't do this, something bad will happen. And it's very much rooted in fear. And it's not coming from spirit. It's not coming from that beautiful sense of the highest self of oh my God, I get to share. I get to, when we change it, all of a sudden, I even I'm almost opening up my shoulders and I'm ooh, I get to, I could feel my chest I want to stand up straighter. And it's my whole body just shifts. It's on the days where I'm I can feel my ego not wanting to go for a run. But I know I'm oh, but I get to go for a run, or I get to be in my business, or I get to go to my tattoo shop, or I get to. And it's just shifting how we say things and see things, right? I don't want to be like, oh, I have to, because then all of a sudden it's like I feel pressure to. And that if I don't, I'm going to be judged by it. Who's going to judge me? Myself and maybe others, because, I care more about what other people think than my own excitement, joy, acceptance, and forgiveness. Like and so once I offer myself this sense of like, oh, I get to, things just shift and I start moving more in alignment. And then I'm like, oh, I get to go for a run. And if that get to turns into, you know what, maybe not. Maybe I get to go for a run tomorrow. And then I ask my body and I'm like, hey, because the connection to your mind and your body, like we have such a disconnect between what's going on in our head, what's going on in our body, and what's going on in our hearts, And so it's like, if I'm going to move in the world, I can't just use my head. Like I gotta ask my body. So yes, my head's like, you have to, you better, you bet, or this and that is gonna, you are this and that. You're lazy, you're unmotivated, you're all these things, you're never gonna make it, you're not gonna make that money. If you no. It's like all of these beliefs of have to, need to, I must, right? It's gonna be rooted in this sense of fear and pressure to perform. And I don't want to continually be forced into doing something. This is where the force, the hustle, that blood, sweat, and tears mentality really comes in, because of the fact that we are forcing based off of what we think society tells us to do, what we think success looks like, what we think, and really it's like, okay, what's my ego? Have to is my ego. Do I get to is my body. Ooh, I get to. Do I want to? You know what? My leg kind of hurts today. I'm asking my body. My knee is a little iffy. But you know what? I might not be able to get another run in this week. So you know what? I get to go for a run today. Let's go for it. Let's go and do it. Maybe it's like I have to post today. Or like I get to post today. Well, it feels good to post today. You know what? I don't really know. Honestly. Maybe it's not good to post today. Maybe I won't. There we go. Easy peasy. Then it's like you ask your body. You get out of your head. I ask my body, hey, I get to. Do I want to? And then it's like, but if I do, it's going to feel really, really good. You know what? Actually, I could say this exact thing. I could actually speak on this, where I was like, you know what? Do you ever feel like you have to? You need to, you must. And then when you shift to get to, things just shift around you, and then relate it back to my community. Whoa, I just came up with a whole post out of nowhere. It's like this. I get to. I decide to. Do you have to show up as something? This allows you to shift into the energy of trust, right? Like, I get to. I decide to. Now I'm trusting myself to be like, yeah, I decide. Yes, I want to. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, let's go, right? So your energy shifts. I have to. Low frequency, fear. I get to. I decide to. Ooh, high frequency, love, excitement, and joy, right? This is where the energy comes in. If I have to, I'm going to feel that through a screen. Someone else is going to feel that through a screen. And every time you check back on the numbers of that post, you're going to be like, it's not doing as well as I wanted to. I knew I shouldn't have posted today, blah, 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 blah. And then you repeat the pattern, you repeat the self-sabotaging cycle of like, well, this is what I get, and then it continues on like that, right? Until we learn. So I get to, I decide to. The next few, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I shoulda, I would, I could. Again, more pressure. There's not should, I should. It's like, I have to. I should. Oh, I should. There are all these energies of not trusting ourselves and pressure as showing up as someone else. And this happens so much in any industry that we are in, especially if you are the face of your brand. It's like, I have to show up. I should show up. I would show up. I could. again, it leans into that distrust of self. It leads to insecurity of self. It leads to unsafety. Like, we are not aligned. I shouldn't feel this way, or should I? Right? It's like the times we're like, well, I shouldn't feel jealous or comparison in the online space. I know I shouldn't. We're not honoring our spaces. So if we don't honor, we don't accept, we don't have the capabilities to forgive, because we haven't accepted that the feeling is just the feeling in our body, that the feeling is absolutely truth and it's valid. And every time we say, well, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have felt that way. I shouldn't have looked. It's like every time we get triggered, it's actually a really incredibly good thing. Every time you get activated in your body is an opportunity for you to grow. And if we don't take that opportunity, we will continue to receive the same lessons in different ways until we finally get aware that, hey, actually, maybe I should have felt this feeling, because now it's opened my awareness to the fact that I don't accept all the things that are going on in my body, which definitely rejects a part of me. And with rejection, fear of death, which is in the first chakra, in your first chakra, your root chakra, it is the basis of that chakra is like tribal mentality. It's like community is life, rejection is death. I must stay within the community. So I should not feel this way, or I should feel this way. It's like we're basing everything based on an unsafe, insecure, non-trusting space. And we further create separation from ourselves, and even the things that we desire, right? So if I should, I would, or I could do this thing. I could work on this a little longer. Really, what you're saying, I could, but I won't. Right? I should, but I won't. I would, but I won't. Essentially, that's all your subconscious hears. So if you have ever read the book called The Mind is Willing by Kissel, don't remember her last name, Dr. Kissel. And she talks a lot about how to reprogram the subconscious mind. And how we do that is like the certain terminology that we utilize. Like one of the steps, or one of the links is what she calls it, in the 23 links in how to really reprogram your subconscious mind. One of the links, and one of the very first links, is watch what the fuck you're saying. And she says that, like, when you say would, should, or could, it means you might, but you probably won't. And the reason is because, again, it's like the I try aspect of it. It's like, I am rooting this in a probability that this won't succeed, or I won't succeed. So I'm giving myself a way out, because I actually don't trust myself enough to actually see myself through this thing. And when we hear that, we're like, whoa, I don't want to hear the real truth of what's happening in my body. I just want to say I should, or I would, or I could, No, it's actually, no, I don't trust myself enough to get me to where I want to go. So I'm going to utilize this terminology to give myself a way out, just in case I don't do it, because I actually won't do it. I should, I could, I would, right? I should show up this way. I should show up. I would have showed up. I could, right? So we gotta understand that, all of these energies is like of not trusting ourselves. It's just not trusting ourselves, and this pressure to conform and perform. And then in that time that we do this, every time we say these words, every time we re-solidify the belief of distrust, of insecure and unsafety within the body. And we still continue to look at things outside of ourselves to bring us those feelings of security and safety and trust, when all of that happens in the inside, baby. And that's an energy thing. And when we are of the energy of like, I trust myself, or I am beginning to trust myself, or I'm on my way to trusting myself, we are shifting the way our subconscious thinks. And it's like, so every time something is not habitual, I'm going to bring it up to him. I'm going to bring it up to them. Because the subconscious only does habitual things. Like right now, what I'm doing is I'm moving my hands and I'm talking at the same time. And I'm consciously understanding that, but like I'm unconsciously not noticing that I'm blinking, that I'm breathing, that my heart is beating. These things just happen automatically. That's what the subconscious that's what the subconscious does. The habitual things. So when we start to shift the way that we speak, your subconscious no longer goes in automation. It actually becomes conscious. It'll hit you with a conscious part of you. That part of you, the trigger. Oh, I'm triggered by this. Okay. Well, wow, I'm triggered by this. You become conscious of the trigger. I become conscious that all of a sudden I'm realizing that this is where I distrust myself. So here I'm going to say something different. I will. I won't. Easy enough. I should, would, could. No, I will or I won't. I will or I won't. That's it. And when you start to shift that becomes more habitual. Once you become into the habit, right? That becomes more automatic. And then all of a sudden, you don't have those triggers because your subconscious now runs on the automation that you will or you won't. Not that you should or you shouldn't. So that's how the subconscious mind works. Okay? Next, always, never. Ooh, it's like always, never, always. And I'm very guilty of this one. It always happens this way. People always do this. I almost said it in this podcast. I was like, I almost said that. I almost said that word. I catch myself. It never happens for me. Why does it have to be so hard? It's always so hard for me. It never works for me. It always works for someone else. Why doesn't it ever work for me? In the subconscious mind filters 11 million bits of data per second. 11 million bits of data per second. The conscious mind filters 50 bits per second. Do you see the difference there? There is a middleman. The middleman is called the reticular activating system, right? The middleman will distort, delete, and generalize the information that your internal reality wants you to see. So saying always and never is generalizing the information or the experience. It's really hard, the mind, the body, the spirit. Why? Because this always happens to me. Think about it. This is generalizing your limiting belief you perceive is going to happen, generalizing past experience. So when we think about this, like you're generalizing a past experience and basically putting it into your present moment and into your future. So like, oh, this always happens to me. So I'm generalizing a past experience of a limiting belief that I perceive is going to happen. It's something that hasn't even happened yet, but I'm just already making it my future because I'm generalizing my past. So your hippocampus, the memory center, the part of your brain, it understands your past experiences, where your amygdala is fear-based. So it filters through these two things. Well, this always happens to me. There is no way, or this will never happen to me in the future. It's generalizing the past, projecting it to the future without adequate new information that would then state something to happen otherwise, right? So now I've all of a sudden created my future from a past generalized experience, right? So I'm taking my memory from my hippocampus, filtering it through the amygdala and the fear base. And what happens is it generalizes it. This always happens to me. This never happens to me. Always and never. It's like no one will ever pay that price and everyone will leave. Those words are so big. This happens all the time in my spaces. When people, especially like when we're starting to raise our prices, this happens in Beyond the Stars, in my container Beyond the Stars, and it also happens in Scale when people are starting to move from tattoo artist to tattoo educator as well. So they're adding other income streams, or they're raising their prices from their tattoos from one price to another. This happens to a lot of artists. And I'm not even going to generalize. I don't even want to generalize it, but I would say that it happens to everyone. We all have this ceiling of where we can expand our nervous system. Like, we have nervous system dysregulation past a certain point. And it is so drenched in so much energy when we think of like, it's like no one, right? No one will pay my prices and everyone will leave. So those words are so big. It's so heavy and activating when we think that. When we think, oh my gosh, if I raise my prices, no one will pay this price and everyone will leave. Instead, utilizing, wow, okay, we have to ask ourselves, well, is that true? How do we know that to be true? Like, is that 100% true? And this is something that is called The Work from Byron Katie. She's amazing. She has these 4 questions that you utilize and how we can shift those around. But my favorite part of it is like, can we just ask ourselves, is that actually true? And you can fight me on this. You can fight me. You can fight me to the death. But it's like, okay, is that actually true? If I raise my prices, everyone will leave. Okay, let's rephrase. There are a couple of people that might not be able to afford it, so I will offer solutions, right? But, it's like so I can offer solutions. So instead of, I'm afraid that if it's like no one will pay the price, everyone will leave, right? We're literally generalizing the limiting fear and then projecting it into our future. We're like, okay, this is actually what I believe. I'm generalizing a fear of something that might have happened in my past. Maybe I raised my prices in the past and all of a sudden, it didn't quite work out. But then let me re-look at that experience one more time before generalizing it. Did that actually happen? When I raised my prices, did everyone leave? No. Did some people leave? Yes. Were you still booked out? Yes. Did you get booked out as much as you did with the lower price? No. Okay, so now I just generalized an entire experience. I realized, oh wow, let me pick out all the pieces of where I did win. What actually happened? What actually happened? Not the generalized version because I had an expectation and it didn't match the expectation. That's on me. But not generalizing the experience and creating more of a limiting belief and stagnicity where all of a sudden now I'm stuck where I'm at because I've decided that no one will pay this price and everyone will leave. So instead, it's like, okay, I'm about to raise my prices again. I am afraid that if I raise my prices, that people will leave. That's a more honest statement. That's definitely honest. That definitely was like, okay, yeah, people might leave. And then we can change it even more. There are a couple people that might not be able to afford this, so I will offer solutions. So now I'm solution-oriented versus avoidant of pain. Now I'm moving forward with solutions. Okay, well, if people can't pay this, here's a solution. I'll give everybody, if you book today, I will give everybody my regular rate, my current rate, because I'm raising my prices on this day. So here is what you can do. You can book with me now at my current rate. If you book a full sleeve, if you book a double day tattoo, if you book, all these, if you book, like if we're planning for all of these things, I will keep you at that rate until we finish the project, but I'm raising my prices at this moment. Oh my goodness. Solutions. We're finding solutions. And then now you become solution oriented. You're like, actually, always and never is not actually a part of real life, Okay. But the word but, we use this as a placeholder. I want to make more money, but I don't know how. Using the word diminishes the power of the first statement. It basically negates the entire part of the first statement. You know what I mean? It's like, but I don't, I want to join, but I want to get better at my art, but I want to, but. Oh my God, you guys. I am so excited. The Worthy Wealthy Creative Retreat is headed to Akumal, Mexico. January 12th through 16th, 2025. This is for the artist who wants a full body immersive experience to create a magnetic brand following their soul's mission. I can't even tell you how much I had so much fun in this last one. We already have 6-7 people already in. Oh my gosh, put your deposit down today so you can reserve your seat. We're only taking 14 artists, so if this is you, click the show notes, get into the vibe. I will see you in Mexico. I cannot wait. Stop. Stop using the word but. You absolutely negate everything you said prior to but. I think you're beautiful, but oh God, what the fuck? Could you imagine if someone said that to you? You're like, oh, I think you're really great, but it's like, yeah, no, you just basically don't actually believe what you're saying. And that's the funny thing. It's like, yeah, but I want to go for a run, but but is just a placeholder. It just literally deflates everything that you say before it. It actually just makes the statement completely devoid. Again, in, a mind is willing, utilizing terminology like the word but, it's like you basically create more distrust within you every time. It's like I utilize this word, especially if it's like I want to make more money, but I don't know how. It's like, okay. So why not just utilize like the word and? I don't know how to. You don't diminish. It's like, and I don't know how to. I want to make money and I don't know how. You don't diminish the first part of the sentence. It's basically saying that it's there, like it's basically being like, okay, here's both true statements. I want to make more money and I'm not sure how, right? This is where we're basically becoming the hero of our story. How can I find out? And how can I find out? Remove the but to and then all of a sudden you start to diminish the limiting idea or for your projection that takes precedence over what you truly want to do in your life and business, right? Because the moment I say utilize the word but, I basically just project a fear all over everything that I just said. I want to start dating, but there's no good men out there. It's like, it's first off, it's going into that generalization. And then it's really like, but I actually, don't want good men. I actually don't want good men. I actually don't even believe that there's anything good out there. I want to make more money, but I don't know how. So I actually don't really want to make more money. Essentially, like, I want to do this thing, but I don't have the money. It's like, okay, so I don't even really want to figure out how I can get it. I actually don't really want to do this thing because I'm not really too fussed on how to try to get it. You see what I'm saying? The moment we declare it, we're like, yes, I want to do this thing and I've got to try to figure out how I'm going to make the funds for this. It's like, oh my gosh, what a declaration. What an empowering way to stand in the declaration of being like, I'm doing this thing and I might not know how, but I'm going to figure it the fuck out. I'm doing this thing, but I don't know how. Okay, well then you're not doing the thing. You don't even seem like you want to figure it out. Like figure out how, create solutions, right? Being a solution-oriented leader versus avoidant. Again, we got to remove that part of it, put the and in there. Can't. The word can't. Change it to something I'm choosing not to. This is taking your power back. You're choosing this or that because there always are ways to. You can always find a different way. It's like, and I know I utilize the word always, and there is a way. It's like I can't. No, I'm choosing not to. Again, the mind is willing. If you guys are really interested in like reprogramming in a very practical way, this book is really, really dense, but I actually really enjoyed it. But again, the terminology I can, it's like, I will not and don't want to is basically what you say when you say can't. I can't do this. I will not and don't want to. When people tell me they can't, that's all I hear. It's like I can't unsee what I've seen now that I understand how powerful words are. And I'm like, wow, I can't and I will not and I don't want to. When someone says I can't, I'm like, oh, you just slapped me in the face. You just slapped me in the motherfucking face. So you don't want to. No, I can't. So you don't want to. No, I do want to, but I can't. okay. But I can't. You just negated everything else and you're just telling me you don't want to. Just say it out loud. Just own it. Just own your shit. Own it. This is taking your power back when you're like, I'm choosing not to. I'm just choosing not to. I don't want to. No, I'm not doing it. You are choosing this or that, right? I'm choosing not to because I don't have the knowledge to do so. So it's like, I can't. Oh, but I can't because I don't have the money. It's like, no, I'm choosing not to because I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to find solutions. I actually don't want to, right? It's like, I'm choosing not to because I don't have the knowledge to do so right now, right? So it's like changing these words changes the energy, right? Because when we look at life in the 3 games that we play simultaneously on this planet and in other dimensions as well, but we'll stick to this planet right now, it is always the identity emotional game. What do we believe? What do I identify as? Am I the person that has to try? Am I the person that can't do it? But I want to, but I can't, and am I generalizing? And what the identity is here, that's where all the limiting beliefs lie. That your subconscious is running on autopilot all the time until you become conscious of it, because the only way we become conscious of it is when we decide to start switching the things that we are saying and declaring out into the world, because your strongest communicator here, your third chakra, your throat chakra, is the most powerful way to share your truth. And if that is my truth, if these words are my truth, then I'm only solidifying, continuing to operate from those limiting beliefs. And the moment that I start to change the way that I speak is the moment that I become consciously aware of my own limiting beliefs, because now I'm stopping my subconscious from being on autopilot and questioning it. And my subconscious wants to help a girl out. Like, it wants to help me. It wants to be like, okay, so we're not going to say can't anymore. So we're going to say I will not. So we're deciding things. So now I'm creating trust. I'm taking my power back. I am autonomous. I am sovereign. Then I start moving in the direction that is in alignment for me. So these 11 words are generalizing words. They will take you out of your power, stepping into fear, limitation, and lack. This is the victim mentality. I am this way because of this, right? I am this way because of all of these reasons outside of me. Right? It's very counterproductive to your energetic growth. And so when we get into the identity piece, what I'm limiting, my beliefs are, we start to switch those things up, our energy starts to shift. And it's like, if I'm placing the blame on an experience or anyone else, we give our power away. Now I have an excuse not to show up the way that I was meant to. But when I take radical responsibility for my own experiences of the perception of my experience, I start to switch the words. My subconscious is no longer on autopilot. I start to shift an identity. That means I start to shift my energy. So I start to heal emotionally, which means I shift energetically, because now I'm more empowered. Now I have sovereignty. Now I have personal motherfucking power. And I move differently in the world because of those things. So in the 3 games we play, the emotional identity work, the energetic quantum work, and it all informs what we do, the strategies, the tactics, the things, the action we take in the material world. And that's it for this episode of The Mind of Reese. I hope you loved it. Please let me know. I love hearing from you guys. I love your DMs. Please let me know that this really hit home. What hit home? Give me your biggest takeaways, all the fun things. And I'll see you in the next episode.